introduced what we now call the broad-based government. Tonight, we delve into the matter of the broad-based government, looking at whether it meets the demands of those who went into the streets, whether it will deliver on the issues of good governance, trust and accountability within this government. And we are not alone today in studio. We'll be having various reporters, as well as a different studio where we have Brian Amoy leading this conversation. But for now, allow me to take you to Amoy, who is on standby, David Kagina, and probably just to get you feedback. Remember, you can send us your feedback through our social media platforms. That is at K24 TV. That is both on X, Facebook as well, and also at Kameme TV Kenya on all social media platforms. And the question for the day today is, do you have confidence in Ruto's new cabinet to deliver? Do you have confidence in Ruto's new cabinet to deliver? And most definitely we'll be sampling some of your feedback before we continue with our conversation. And also we'll be having a number of guests, both from the political class as well as Gen Zs, who will be on standby, people who have been on the forefront of these demonstrations, speaking to us and just talking to us as to whether they feel what we currently have in the form of broad-based government meets what they initially had and whatever they were championing for in the demonstrations that kicked off on July 18th till Nane as they continued to fade off. And most definitely, we expect that you will be engaging with us in this conversation tonight. Don't shy away from sending your feedback, and most definitely we'll be sampling that and ensuring that you're not left behind. And remember, we have various reporters in different parts of the country standby with Kenyans, because on this particular show, we are talking about coming to where you are and engaging you, hearing the conversation right from you, not from the studio, but from you, the Kenyan. And so remember, your feedback is really dear on this conversation tonight. I can see some of you are already picking up on our discussion on social media, and we will be sampling that in a short while. And the likes of Jesse Abishok, thank you for tuning in already live from Eldoret, saying that you are thinking of excuses will rise until the year 2027. We'll be coming back to that even as we enhance the discussion tonight. And remember, President William Ruto, in heeding to the demands by the Gen Zs, did away with his cabinet and extended an olive leaf to the opposition led by Raila Odinga, inviting him and his friends, or rather partners, to join government and work together, with some of his members being nominated into cabinet. And for now, allow me to take you to Brian Amoy, who is in Studio A, to kick off this conversation.
All right, thank you, David Kagina, for that, setting the pace for this particular conversation tonight. And of course, I have started the process of forming a government that will help me steer the nation forward. Those are the words of President William Ruto on the 19th of July when he was dissolving his government, and also starting the process of actually reconstituting a new cabinet that will help steer the Kenya Kwanza's agenda forward. Now, to have this conversation in studio here, I'll be speaking to, that is Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, who is the Member of Parliament, Githunguri, and also I'll be speaking to Honorable Duncan Madenge, who is the Member of Parliament, Nyeri, and also Samuel Pogisho, who is the former Minister, and Vivian Ta, who is a public affairs expert. I'll also be engaging Governor Mutahi Kahiga, who is the Governor of Nyeri, on this conversation that is taking center stage in the nation at this particular moment. And I want us to cross over to Governor Kahiga. Governor Kahiga, thank you so much for making time for this conversation here on K24 as we take a look at the state of the nation following the political events that have been shaping agenda in the past few days. And I want to start with your assessment on what has happened in the past few days, ever since the Gen Z started their protest, which has led to the formation of what we are now terming as the government, a broad-based government, if you may. What is your assessment from that particular front first?
Thank you very much, Brian Moy. Yes, indeed, we see that following the unrest that was there, the Gen Z demonstrations, President William Ruto decided to now bring us a broad-based government, where he involved the man who sacked him when he was Minister for Agriculture, Honorable the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, and involved some of his people and brought them into government and called that a broad-based government. As far as I'm concerned, and maybe looking at it, we would simply say that the president was trying to kill two birds with one stone. One is to tame the Gen Zs by heeding to some of their calls, and of course also preparing himself for the 2027 election. You must always remember that the president is a politician, and this was the greatest example of how a politician swallows his own words, because I walked with the president when he was doing the campaigns. I listened to him. He said it 1,000 times that he was never going to bring in nusu mkate and all that kind of thing. But here we are. Now we have a broad-based government. Let's see how it goes.
You've been critical when it comes to this particular issue. You've been criticizing, from the onset, you didn't believe in the idea of opposition coming into government, because I was watching when the president did dissolve his cabinet. You advised him, if I may use those particular words, to be very careful, so that because there are some people, in your own words, that wanatumia mlango ya nyuma kuingia into kwa serikali. And from what you've mentioned right now, it seems that that's exactly what you believe happened in this particular incident.
It is the president's government, and he believes that the people he has brought in can help him. Yet they were his strongest critics. Who am I to doubt? Let us time will tell. Because the fact of the matter is that there is only one reason why people go for political competition, and that is simply to win power, to form government, and drive an agenda. Now, how do you marry an agenda between UDA, and ODM, when they are strange bedfellows? As is to watch and see what happens. If indeed John Bandi, Mheshimiwa, is able to understands the better agenda, let's wait and see, because he was never part of it. We have seen it. But as far as I'm concerned, and as a Kenyan, and knowing where we are coming from, my conviction is that if this can calm the nation, let us allow it. Let's give the president time. Let's see how these people... But he must always remember what we say. When these people are around you, sleep with one eye open and close one other. Because who knows, maybe they even got into government so that they can mess him up. And then in 2027, he'll be weaker than he is now. Anyway, that is politics. But having looked at it, I think we just want a calm nation. We have 3 years to go. Let's pray that we can achieve the agenda of the president through his latest move.
Being my guest here in studio to have a say on this particular conversation as we continue with it. Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for making time for this conversation. Of course, Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, who is the Member of Parliament, Githunguri, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you so much.
I have Honorable Duncan Madenge, who is the Member of Parliament, Nyeri Town. Thank you so much for coming. And Samuel Pogisho, who is the former minister. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation here on K24. Let me start with you, Honorable Gathoni. This is the thing. How broad is this new government? How broad-based? Does it have... does it include every other Kenyan?
Well, I don't know whether, first of all, allow me to say good evening to my viewers and to my voters, who I'm sure they are following this wonderful television. And allow me to also humbly say I'm excited to meet my former minister for communication.
Thank you.
He was a very capable minister then, and one of the pillars of this country that allowed the freedom of media to happen in this country. So I'm excited to share a panel with him. You asked me how broad is broad-based. I don't think I'm the right person to answer that question, because I'm watching as others watch. So I don't know whether I should be able to answer that question. Yes.
Do you believe, because on the aspect of broad-based, you're talking about the inclusion of different, ethnic groups, religious sectors, social groups, and those non-governmental organizations. From the onset, when you talked about wanting to have a conversation, that was what was intended.
Okay.
That we have a conversation of close to 150 people, 50 of whom will be the youth of this particular country, and the 100 will come from different particular groups, stakeholders, if we may. And right now, when you're talking about the formation of this government, what we've been able to see is the political class that is taking a big chunk of the government.
Okay.
Now
I get your question.
Yeah, exactly.
Very well. So if you were to ask me, I would respond by saying I think the word broad-based is a political word. Because if really we wanted to deal with the problems that were there, and we brought the government of inclusivity so that we can deal with the problems that are there, then I think we just got it wrong. Because the Gen Zs, or the people who went to the street because they were protesting against some serious governance-related issues. They were protesting against an intention of a government to push through a bill that they openly rejected. Today I've come with the report of public participation. This is the report of public participation after Kenyans submitted their opinion, and over 80% of those that are in this report rejected finance bill. So the issues that are in this report are the issues that Kenyans were protesting against, and they are still protesting against. It's only that maybe they have gone off the noise, but every other person in this report and many other people who comprised the opinions of what was done here, the issues therein are the issues that I thought the new formation of government should be addressing. In this report, there is nowhere, because I've read it, I read page by page. I have not seen anywhere any of the people who brought their opinion in Parliament, because they brought their opinion during the open public participation, and some of them sent their emails. If you read this document, none of them said that they wanted Raila Odinga to join government. None of them said they wanted Joho to come into government. Okay. None of them said John Bandi should join government. They said they wanted their issues sorted out. So if the president found it important for him to sort the issues through government inclusion of those that he has brought into government, we just need to give him time. Okay. But for me, I am saying, and I have said many times, looking at the setup that has been brought as the broad-based government, to me, it's a combination of Kenyans' problem brought together.
A combination of Kenyans' problems brought together. Yeah. We'll get into the details of that. But this is the thing. Honorable Madenge, is this the solution that the people that took to the streets, the Kenyan youth that took to the streets, actually wanted? Is this the solution to the issues that they raised?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here, and I appreciate the chance to be part of this national conversation on the way forward for this country. The easiest thing for people in leadership, and especially parliamentarians, to do is to criticize government. It is the easiest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is to offer solutions towards the challenges that confront us. Even at times of peace, we still have challenges. What were the major concerns? At the beginning, the young people went on the streets complaining about particular and specific clauses in the finance bill, especially those that were resulting in increased taxation. And towards the tail end, and I like the fact that Honorable Mushomba has brought the report of the Finance Committee, the report of the public participation. Every stakeholder that went before the Finance Committee raised issues with specific clauses in the finance bill. To the best of my knowledge, and I have gone through the report, there is no single stakeholder who made a presentation that I have come here and my position is reject the finance bill in totality. However, towards the tail end of the legislative process in Parliament, the young people did say, we did not say amend, we said reject. Eventually, the president did drop the finance bill. He vetoed Parliament and recommended the discarding of the entire Finance Bill 2024, including the title. But the young Kenyans had also raised other concerns beyond the Finance Bill. They had raised concerns about the affluence. Mm-hmm. They had raised concerns about the vocabulary and the language of certain leaders. They had raised concerns about posturing by leaders. And therefore, in vetoing the finance bill, the president did respond to the demand by the young people that we did not say amend, we said reject. By dissolving his cabinet and widening the space so that his cabinet was more inclusive, and in my view, this cabinet represents literally the face of Kenya in terms of regions, and also represents the face of Kenya in terms of the votes, the weight of the votes that the president got. And largely, he has taken care of the interest of Kenyans.
So I'd like to understand how the previous cabinet did not represent the face of Kenya, because if you're talking about regional balance, then we had, there are people, some of the names that came and replaced those that were chased out of the cabinet, it's just a replacing of those particular regions. So how do we define that regional balance by bringing in the opposition?
It is not an entirety. I'll give you the example. The CS Finance was Professor Juguna Dungu from Mount Kenya region. He was replaced by John Bandi.
Is it the docket or is it the region?
No. You see,
is it the docket that somebody holds that will people look at and say now a region is represented?
No, the prerogative of assigning the dockets does not belong to the public. In the Constitution of Kenya, it is assigned to the president. Okay?
Okay.
But in selecting, and it is a principle of the Constitution, in the president's own lenses, he felt that by redistributing the dockets and by bringing in fresh people who were not previously in his cabinet from regions, then he had taken care of the aspirations that were expressed to him by the young people.
I'll be coming to you. I want to come to about Pogisho. This is the thing. How do we define inclusivity when it comes to governance? The problem with this country most of the time is always people feel like they are left out when it comes to representation. But if we look like the letters formation in terms of, if we want to talk about regional balance, the previous cabinet did have faces from this particular region. So is this the solution that we're actually looking for?
Well, thank you very much. And first of all, thanks for having me here and to put me together with my friends here who are sitting members, and I follow them, and I also know that they're the ones who voted. So it's good to be with people who voted, either yes or no, whether they voted for or against the finance bill that caused all these problems. One of the most difficult things in any system is trying to defend government. It's very tough. Defending government is very tough. It's easier to be on the other side where you don't have to defend. But now, what has happened in Kenya is that government and opposition now has kind of come together. And so it's becoming very difficult to defend the opposition or to defend the government because they have now gone into the same space. My definition of inclusivity or even broad-based is we must define broad-based as a progressive proportions. It's going to slide from 0 to 100% broad-based. I think we just stepped at 20% broad-based. partly because what we... It's a move in the right direction, but we are very short of what you call 100% broad-based. And because it's never been defined whether we are going for 100% broad-based or 10%, what has happened now is only one political party has gone in there, okay, and all of it is not there. So you really can't say it's broad-based.
So to some extent, what we have is not a broad-based government.
Well, you can call it broad-based because it's moving from a single ideology to some infusion of a different ideology.
Okay. I want to engage Governor Mutai here. Then I'll come back for your remarks before we break for the news. Governor, this is the thing. To some extent, an opposition has come into government, and what would have earlier on considered as people that did not believe in the ideologies of the ruling government at the moment are now trying to push for those ideologies and for those ideas and for that particular agenda to actually be actualized. How realistic is this?
Well, I think, thank you very much. All we can say is that time will tell. We have to play our cards. This is a game of, like you say, I'm looking for broad-based. I can't find it. This is a game of musical chairs, moving people around. What you are talking about broad-based, I do not understand, because it's just names and people who are moved around. They're from same regions, and then what I think the other cabinet was also broad-based, but now, for lack of a better word, let's continue using this one. Now, on the issue of the opposition being in government, there are two scenarios. One, they are either in government to come and blow us up the way they did for KANU. Yeah, because we are UDA and they are ODM, and we were in competition. It's only hopeful thinking and hope. We are praying that they will remain in government and help us. That is one scenario. The other scenario is that they could be mercenaries who have just come to blow us up and mess us up, and by the time we get to 2027, they will have messed all our programs. But however, I do not want to doubt their ability in terms of what they can do. I only want to say that they need to be taken through the UDA better agenda if we have not abandoned it, and allow them to see, and then we watch and see what they will do. But like I told you, this could be either wishful thinking. I saw even one of them, instead of getting down to business, is now very busy introducing his wives. You know, we moved. I do not understand what really where the Gen Z was specific and said that they did not want what Mheshimiwa Madenge has just spoken. People who are flaunting affluence and many other things. Even as they go out to celebrate and do homecomings, let them remember that they are doing that on the blood of the 50 Kenyans who are killed. So at least we want some decency and modesty. Let them go to work, not start going around here telling us that they are now doing homecoming parties. What for? Let them get down to work and help the president. That is what we want to see.
What you're saying is that we haven't really changed on some of the things that had actually been raised by the Gen Zs, and it seems like the political class really hasn't learned on some of these issues that had been raised when it comes to opulence and getting to business, instead of now throwing parties when it comes to celebrating some of these appointments. Now, this is the thing. I'll be coming back with my guest to have a deeper conversation and look at how broad-based is this particular new formation. Does it have the interest of every Kenyan at heart? Will it deliver on the issues that people did raise when they took to the streets? And are some of the issues actually being incorporated when it comes to, let's say, inclusivity and all that? And, some of the things that had been raised by the Gen Z, are they being incorporated when it comes to now start delivering on some of the agendas of President William Ruto's government? I want to take a break. When we come back, we'll be coming back with the news. Then later on, we'll be getting deeper into this conversation here on K24 and Kameme TV.
Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Ushinde hadi mara 5,000 ya beti yako teke teke. Yes, and it's that simple. Dial *675#, cheza na 6 numbers kati ya 1 hadi 6, weka